we started there.
Good afternoon, everybody. So thank you very much for coming along to our webinar about the Fulbright Awards in RCSI. So I'd like to thank everybody for giving up their very busy afternoon. My name is Helen French. I'm a senior lecturer in the School of Physiotherapy in RCSI, and I'm the campus ambassador for the Fulbright campus ambassador for RCSI. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share my screen here. So hopefully you can all see that slide there. So this is part of a roadshow that Fulbright are doing in advance of their awards, which are launching over the next few months. And in fact, some of them are launching today. So this is the running order, and we may not need all of this time. So, but just to kind of give you a heads up. So I will just give a brief introduction just to my role as ambassador. And then I'm going to pass over to to Sonia McGuinness is going to go through the awards and the application process. And Sonia is a senior awards manager for Fulbright. And after that, then we're just going to hear from Dr. Olga Piska-Riva from RCSI, who is a STAR research lecturer, and she spent some time in the States on a Fulbright visit, getting a scholar award. And then we also want to tell you about the PhD awards. So these would be actually for incoming Fulbright students, PhD students. So Professor Niamh Moran is going to talk about that. She's head of the School of Postgraduate Studies in RCSI. And then we're going to wrap up, really allowing some time for questions and answers with us and with Rowan Gallagher from Fulbright Ireland as well, who has been incredibly busy coordinating all of these events around the country for all the different academic institutions. So a bit of information about the Fulbright ambassador and just myself without having to talk too much. But I was a Fulbright scholar in 2017, 2018. I was the recipient of one of the Fulbright HRB Health Impact Awards, and I spent 3 months in Boston University in 2018. And the campus ambassadors are appointed in each academic institution. And I guess, you know, I'm the point of contact between, or the liaison between Fulbright and either, you know, applicants. So for those who want to go abroad, go to their scholars or students, I'm certainly happy to provide any on-site advice and support regarding that application process. But also, you know, I see my role as being a point of contact for those who are coming in from the States on a scholar program or a student program. So as I said, I'm the point of contact for Fulbright related matters for both incoming scholars and students and outgoing scholars and students. My email address is here, hfrench@rcsi.ie or rcsi.com. I also would advise people to follow Fulbright Ireland on Twitter. So that's the Fulbright Ireland hashtag there, or Twitter handle. And I retweet, and I would kind of, you know, obviously be trying to communicate information as well through my own Twitter account @HelFrench. So if you're on Twitter, that could be a very useful channel to follow. So that's really all I have to say. So I'm now going to hand over to Sonia McGuinness, Senior Awards Manager, who's going to really give you more detail about the awards and the application process. So over to you, Sonia.
Hi, everybody. I'm just going to share my screen now. Hold on, sorry. Okay, hello, everybody. Great to have so many on the call today. So I'm Sonia McGuinness. I'm the Senior Awards Manager here at Fulbright in Ireland. Okay, and thank you, Helen, for introducing me and chairing this meeting, just some of the other participants on the meeting today. So just to give you a brief overview of the Fulbright Commission here in Ireland. So the Fulbright program was set up in 1946 in the US. Ireland joined in 1957. It was kind of under the remit of the Scholarship Exchange Board. And then in 1991, the Fulbright Commission was set up. Okay, so 2021, we have 180 countries worldwide who are all part of the Fulbright Commission, sending students and academics and professionals to study research in the US, and sending American academics to their home countries as well to study and research. Okay, so Fulbright opportunities. There are loads of opportunities. So we have awards for students, scholars, artists, teachers, professionals, research, study, teaching, lecturing in the United States. Okay, so it's open to all academic disciplines. Okay, so what do we provide for students or scholars going over to the US? We give a grant amount, we facilitate your visa administration with the US Embassy. We offer accident and emergency insurance. There's also the cultural and professional programming, which is Alumni Association here in Ireland, and also Fulbright chapters in the US. There's ongoing support and links to a global network of Fulbright alum. So in some institutions in the US, you might be the only Fulbrighter, or in other institutions, you would be one of many Fulbrighters from other countries also studying or researching at a US institution. Okay, so it's an experience of a lifetime, and I suppose it's kind of hard to think about that now, but I've been here for a while, so I've seen a lot of people come back after spending their time in the US, and it definitely, it changes them for life fundamentally. What they get out of it is you can't even kind of grade it. Apart from the recognition of being a Fulbrighter, you meet many new friends, many new researchers, you opened to networking groups, etc. And it's really the Fulbright family. That's what we consider ourselves to be. So that's why you're always connected with us in one way or another, whether you're involved in the Alumni Association here in Ireland, whether you're keeping in touch with people in the US that you were studying or researching with. So it's definitely a network of global peers. Okay, so how to decide whether you're actually eligible to apply to a Fulbright award. Okay, so Irish awards are open to all Irish and EU citizens who have been based in Ireland for 3 years plus residency. So anyone who's an EU citizen and who's been living in Ireland for the last 3 years, you can apply to the Irish Fulbright Commission. Okay, you need to demonstrate a strong rationale for why you were going to the US. So why do you need to be in the US to study or to research? Is there an academic that is in the US that you want to go and visit and do a part of research with? What defines the US as the place where you need to study? So I suppose when we're looking at your applications and looking at them, reviewing them, we want to see why the US. This person can actually do this research here. If we want to see that's not possible, we want to see you, it's the US is the place you need to be. Okay, you must comply with the to your home rule. I'm not going to go into this in much detail. It's a global Fulbright rule. So anyone who goes to the US on a Fulbright has to, the idea is that you have to return to your home country for 2 years. Now we consider at this time home country being Europe as well. So it's also cumulative. So just say you're going over to do a PhD, you can stay for the duration of your PhD, come back to Ireland, stay in Ireland for a year, go to Australia for a year, come back to Ireland for a year. So they add up your time in Ireland or the EU. So that's how it works. But I suppose it's important to think about that, because some people might think that they can stay on after their Fulbright or after they finish their PhD, etc. But there is a requirement to return home to Ireland or the EU. Okay, you cannot be a dual US-Irish citizen. So you can't hold a US passport if you want to apply to us. You cannot be living in the US at the time of application. So you cannot have recent extensive experience. This means that you're just come back from the US and you want to go back and study. It's not if you were born in the US or if you, lived in the US for 2 or 3 years when you were young, or you did a semester a year abroad or anything like that. It's only if you've just literally come back from the US and are now applying for a Fulbright. And again, reach out to us and we can ascertain where you are with that. Okay, so the application approach. I suppose we're kind of unique in the funding, academia funding anyway, because it's not just about the research, it's also about the person. And it's definitely, the application is, you do have to put a lot of work into it, but it's definitely worth it, even if just going through the process as a learning exercise, even if sometimes even if you don't get a Fulbright at the end, it's definitely worth doing it. And a lot of people feel that because they learn quite a lot from it. Okay, so the application timeline. So our awards will open in August 2021. where the applications are, it's an online application submission. And then we have a closing date in October 21. There's a technical review where your application will be sent out to 3 reviewers in your academic field. We have reviewers in Ireland, we have reviewers globally that we use to review your application. So that's a technical review. It's done between November and December. If you're successful in the technical review, the interviews take place in January, February. This year they were virtual, but hopefully next year it'll be back face to face. Then we make the offers in March 2022. So actually those offers have just been made yesterday. So the offers have just gone out. Okay, so planning, you need to review the information on our website, choose an award that would be right for you, find a course, plan a research proposal in the US, research what it means to be a Fulbright. Again, I can't this is so important, and this is kind of what makes us unique, is that we're not just looking at you from an academic perspective, we're looking at you as a person. So what you can bring to the program. So it's really important that you understand that, because sometimes we get applications that they haven't really thought about that personal statement, that Fulbright statement, and it's a really big part of the application, okay? And then register your interest with us, and we can put you on the mailing list for the applications opening in August. Okay, so the award categories we have the Irish Student Awards. This is for postgraduate research or postgraduate degree programs. We have the Irish Scholar Awards, which are for academics or professionals for research and lecturing in the US. And then we have the Tech Impact Awards, which could be relevant to people in medical fields, it's for academic research or professional research, both with an ICT focus, okay? So Fulbright Student Awards. So for postgraduate students in all academic disciplines, so for visiting researchers or master's students or PhD students, you must establish your own affiliation or apply for a degree course in the US. So you do that separately to applying for Fulbright. So you'll be doing that at the same time as you're applying to Fulbright for funding. The duration is 4 to 12 months, 1 academic year approximately, and the max award is 30,000 euros. And again, that's dependent on where you're going in the US. Obviously, New York, Boston, really expensive places to live. Accommodation is expensive. But if you're going to somewhere like Ohio, not so expensive to live. So therefore, the award it depends on what state you're going to in the US. Okay, so the Scholar Awards for postdoc or professionals in all disciplines. You must possess a PhD or 5 years relevant professional experience. To research or lecture in the US, you must again establish your own affiliation with the US institution. The awards are for 3 to 12 months, and the max award is 35,000 euro. Okay, so then the Tech Impact Awards are open to scholars or professionals in any discipline using ICT. You must possess a PhD or 3 to 5 relevant years professional experience. Preference is given to early career researchers, so your PhD since 2019. It's non-commercial research exploring transformative power of ICT. So these are shorter duration, so it's for between 2 weeks and 3 months, and the approximate amount of the award is 11,000 euro. Okay, so these are our sponsored awards. So we work with a lot of bodies here in Ireland who facilitate co-sponsoring our awards for students and scholars to go to the US. So we have sponsored awards and we have the All Disciplines Award. So you can decide yourself if something is relevant to you, apply to a sponsored award. If not, apply to the All Disciplines Award. Okay, so I suppose if you're looking at sponsored awards, it's important to look at the EPA's website, see what their strategy is. Would you fit in with it? I know EPA probably isn't. HRB is probably more relevant to RCSI. So I look at their strategy. How would you fit in? Would your research or your master, would it be relevant to what they're looking at? So it's definitely worthwhile looking at the sponsored awards and seeing if you're the right fit. It's HRB really. And if not, you apply through the All Disciplines Award. Okay. So the Fulbright sponsored awards, there's a number of students, but mainly the most important one is the HRB Award for health professionals. So that would be in the medical fields, and it's for the Scholar Awards. Students would generally be applying through the All Disciplines Awards. Okay. So application requirements. So it's a big application, but it's worthwhile thinking about it now and starting the process if you're thinking of applying for Fulbright. So there's personal information on your CV, the Fulbright statement that I was talking about. Okay, your project statement, your research statement, what you plan to do in the US and how you plan to do it, and why the US is the place you need to do that research or course. You need 3 academic recommenders, references, the same thing. So they also have to submit their reference online. Okay, transcripts for student applicants, a copy of your passport, and a letter of affiliation if you have secured a host in the US, like you would be working on it. Some people mightn't have the affiliation letter at time of applying, but as long as we're aware of what your plan is, that's okay as well. Again, come reach out to us if you have any queries on that, okay? So study or research objectives. Think about your work. What's unique about your work? What do we need to know about your work that would make us think this is perfect for Fulbright, okay? Again, the rationale for going to the US, the justification, why the US? Why do I need to be in the US to do this research and not here in Ireland, okay? Then identify the area you want to concentrate on, explain the research questions, objectives, methodology, and expected results. And then what impact this research will have when you come home here to Ireland, because it's all about that exchange, okay? It's exchange of ideas. It's going to the US, learning something new, and bringing that back to Ireland and sharing it either with your colleagues or your students, okay? That ongoing collaboration, okay? So then the personal statement, which I talked about before, it's all about you, okay? So probably it's like a marketing tool. It's about, we want to know about you. What's unique about you? What can you bring to Fulbright? What qualities do you have? Like Fulbright is not just an academic exchange, it's a cultural exchange. So we want to know what else, apart from your research, what else can you tell us about yourself that defines you, that makes you unique? And what you're going to do in the US outside of your research or your academic course, what you're going to bring to the program and what you're going to give to the US. And then also when you come back to Ireland, how you can sustain that Fulbright connection and what you can do with it. So it's really important to research that part of it, okay? So as it says, do not rehash your research plan. This isn't about your research or your CV, it's about you and what's unique about you. And that's, yep, okay. So also diversity and inclusion. We welcome candidates from all underrepresented groups, communities, area of research, home organization and HEIs, geographical areas, ethnicities and ability. So it's definitely worthwhile looking at our website because this is an important part of what we're doing. Okay, so finding a host. I know this can be like, I really want to go to the US. I have a really interesting research plan, but I just don't know where to start about how do I find a host. Talk to academics in your field here in Ireland, in RCSI, talk to Fulbright alum. I can guarantee you, even if they're not Fulbright alum, they will have done conferences, attended research events. They will know American academics in your field and they will help you make that contact. Also, Americans are really good at responding to email, so they will get back in touch with you. So you just have to be proactive and put yourself out there. Say, this is what I want to do. This is why I want to go to your research lab because it's exactly the right fit for me. I'm applying for a Fulbright. You just have to put it out there, but definitely talk to other academics in your field here in Ireland. If you're a student, talk to lecturers or talk to Fulbright alum on our website. You'll see all their bios on the website. But and also the American alum on our website. You could connect with them. But it's just being proactive and researching and seeing where's the right fit for you, okay? So I think, yeah, that's right. And if, again, select a degree or choose a host institution. Again, if you're looking at master's programs in the US, I mean, Fulbright is definitely a helping hand, but you also have to pay fees, so you'll be looking for funding. But think about, as we said, diversity and geographical spread, not, where in the, we're so used to people going to the East and West Coasts. America is massive and it's got loads, it's got over, I think, 3,400 institutions for you to choose from. And, maybe it would be interesting to be the only Fulbrighter on campus, and sometimes we're not aware of all the places that we can go and research or undertake masters, which could actually, especially from a student perspective, the fees might be so high, but the experience might be amazing. So it's definitely worth looking at other options at master's level. Okay. So just review and interview. So the review stage, as you can see, is weighted to more towards your academic record and your research, your project statement. And the cultural engagement and leadership is weighted slightly lower. But if you make it to interview stage, they're flipped, okay? So we just want the elevator pitch at interview, because we know you've ticked the box, we know your research it's all good, or your master's, but we want to know all about you and your cultural engagement, your leadership, your Fulbright, what you can bring to Fulbright and what you can bring back here to Ireland. So it's really important to know that, because I suppose people are kind of sometimes blindsided that, oh, they don't want me to talk about my research. They want to talk about me. So it's really important. And again, I'd say that's what makes us unique in this funding, because it is you as a person as well. Okay. So just to go on, as we're sending Irish over to the US, we're obviously bringing Americans back here to Ireland, and RCSI are an amazing sponsor of our program. So we have US students coming to Ireland, either doing research or doing postgraduate courses. We have US scholars who come over to lecture or research. Then we also have the specialist program, which is a shorter program that we offer as well to Irish institutions. And then the Global Scholar Program, which is where a scholar will come to Ireland and then we'll go to another country like Australia. I have a scholar coming this year. They're going to be in Ireland for a month, and then they're going to Australia for 2 months again. So they can swap. Okay. So just about the specialists, we're offered 5 every year. It's a shorter period. So the academic comes for 2 to 6 months. So it could be curriculum development, kind of a niche project that they, again, it's easier for some academics to come for a shorter period of time, and this gives them the opportunity to do that. So these open in June, and we send out information to Irish hosts, and they close in September. Okay. So that's just to give you an overview of our co-sponsors within the US side of things. As you can see, surgeons are there in a big way, and we're really happy with that. Okay. Okay, so just next step, reach out to recommenders. Again, recommenders have to submit a deadline of application, and it's good to reach out to them now because they're busy people. Select host institutions, research Fulbright ethos, really important. Talk to other Fulbrighters and follow us on social media. Now, if you're not sure where you fit, how, you know, if you feel you want to check in with us to see if you're the right fit for Fulbright, or if your research area or what you plan to do in the US, you need any help, please reach out to us. We're a small group. We chat all the time, but we're willing to answer any questions that you might have if it makes the process easier. Okay, I think that's me. I'm all done.
That's great. Many thanks, Sonia. And Rowan is busy typing in the chat box there, just reminding people if they have any questions to put them into the chat box, and we'll do all the questions and answers at the end. So just a reminder to people to you know, kind of write their questions down as they're going along, so they can remember then what to ask in the Q&A session. So I'm going to hand over next to Dr. Olga Piskareva, and Olga was a recipient of the Fulbright Award, the Fulbright HRB Health Impact Award in 2018-19, and she went over to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. So just to hear the kind of personal story and Olga's experience, I'm going to hand over to Olga now. So thanks very much, Olga.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Helen, for presentation, and many thanks for inviting me to share my experience. So using the slide, and you may see that I'm kind of still affiliated with molecular and cell therapeutics departments. I left this on purpose because this is when I received the award. Back then, this department had this name. Now it was rebranded and much bigger. But anyway, I was awarded with the Fulbright HRB Health Impact Scholar to go to the United States. But of course, the main question is how it all begins, where it all began. So of course, as Sonia McGuinness said that you have to think about your application. So in my case, when I was thinking to apply to this program, the dilemma for me was that I was more than 10 years after my PhD. So not many options were available to go somewhere to learn something new academically. And I did a lot of search around to see how I can do, because I had an idea in my head, meeting once a very interesting researcher at the research conference, and I wanted to try his idea and his platform to apply to my research field, which is cancer research and focus on childhood cancer neuroblastoma. So, and then I figured out that there is a Fulbright, and I was very excited because this is actually the opportunity for anyone, let's say, experienced in academia, to go abroad, to do something relevant to your research, to learn something new, but also to try to remember yourself in bad days when you did your undergraduate, when you did your PhD, and you was bold and adventurous and wanted to try different things in your life. So I found the lab in the US, I found the call and applied for this fellowship. My hands were trembling when I opened an email at the end of March in 2018 and saw that there was something from the Fulbright, and my hands were so trembling that I was not able to read what it said. And then I figured out, I was looking for keywords, something like "we are regret to inform," or "we are delighted," or "we congratulate you with the award." So I saw that I was awarded, so I was over the moon. Of course, because I got an opportunity to try absolutely new area which can be applied to my field of research. So yes, the application took a lot of efforts, as Sonia highlighted. It's not about your academic achievements, about your academic placement. It's about you as a person. And to some extent, it looks like I went to a church and talked to a priest confessing about my adventurous nature, about things that I want to do and how good I can be and how much I can learn from this experience. So it was definitely a life-changing experience just to look at yourself from a different perspective, not only as academic with all these impacts in and publications in journals, number of grants, amount of grants that you received. It was more about you, what you want to do there. So this was the memorable event in the US Embassy when we were officially announced as Fulbright awardees. We've got our award, and we got the certificates that we were awarded. That year was very, very good for RCSI. There were 4 happy people with the plans to explore the US. Michelle Flood, Ken O'Leary, sorry, yeah, Ken O'Leary, myself in the red, and we had another medical student on the back. You will see one of the arrows showing it. So here, where the award was cemented for me, and then eventually I've got a visa to go to the States. It was a different story, not related to the Fulbright, related just to my roots. As you may appreciate that I'm not Irish by birth, so there was some controversy with my place of birth, but anyway, it was overcome, and again with the great support from the Fulbright Commission to overcome this. So I flew from my home city in the last more than 15 years, which is Dublin, from my home country, Ireland, to the United States. and it was Johns Hopkins University, which I selected to go and to learn this new technique. And my fantastic comrades back then from different countries in the same lab, but what you can see that we are on the background, it's Guinness, but I was lucky as well. So Baltimore has a Guinness brewery, and that's experimental Guinness brewery, which does many types of Guinness of absolutely different colors, pink and yellow, and actually they're very, very nice. So that was my trip. I was there for 4 months, and to keep things recorded, because now when I was preparing to this presentation, I thought, thank God that I kind of step out of my comfort zone and started to write and record my experience in my blog. So this is the first post when I was awarded and got the certificate of the Fulbright Awards. And then there were lots of different stories that you can read if you go there, kind of showing what I did, what I discovered for myself in Baltimore, in New York, because it's not far away from Baltimore, just 2.5 hours bus. I went in a very cheap student way, just took the earliest bus with the lowest fare to go over there and also experience the trip and see what happens on the road, how people live and how things are organized there. And of course, about my particular scientific journey, which was another very exciting part of the trip, which culminated eventually last month in the publication. So, and another important thing to say, what I experienced, which probably not many Fulbrighters experience when they are in the States. I lived with a family. And here on this picture, you see an American enthusiast who wanted to study Russian in 2018. And you see my mom, who is actually a host family for language students. And he lived my mom hosted him and taught him how to speak Russian with all these different nuances. So he was quite a good student. And when I was awarded, I of course called my mom saying that, oh, my mommy, I am so delighted I awarded a fellowship to go to the US. And I explained her where, and she immediately shared it with this guy. And because, of course, my mom is not English speaking person, I had to type different details. And then this boy, whose name is Trevor, says that he's actually from Baltimore. And here how they started to help me to find accommodation and find way around where to live in Baltimore, because it's one of the most criminal cities in Ireland, sorry, in the United States. When I selected the city, I didn't think about this, but anyway, they were very, very careful about me and gave me lots of tips. But what eventually happened, they adopted me. So this is the family, and these are parents of Trevor. So lady in black, green, and red are sisters, and their husbands on the back. At the bottom is his dad. So, and here is me. So they adopted me, and actually I lived in the house of their older sister for all my 4 months, because her house was closer to Johns Hopkins than the house of the Trevor's parents. So I had family dinner every Sunday. I had the Thanksgiving, proper Thanksgiving experience with them. So anyway, they said that I am, from that moment, I became their youngest sister. So, and I think I fit well because I also blonde as both ladies. So that was my experience. And then a year after I returned back to Ireland, this family with their son came back to Russia again, and they met my mother. And it just happened nicely that I was traveling to Russia as well on the same dates. So we met in Moscow, and it was a great reunion. I was trying to find a picture of that, but because it's on the other driver, I was not able to dig it for our presentation. But we are still in great touch and in a great communication. So I think generally, probably my experience is slightly different to others in sense of not everyone has been adopted while being in Ireland, in the States by their American family, but the bottom line is that it was fantastic experience for me. It was life-changing experience in many sense, and I think I lived there as a middle-class American, which had a car and drove every day back and to and back from my work. And this car was rented out for me for free by this fantastic family. So that was my story, and all small details and colors you can read in my blog, or just contact me, and I'm happy to share my experience of applying and how I lived over there back then in 2018. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks very much, Olga. That really is a fantastic story. And actually, I think it's a great idea to keep a blog because first of all, it's a really good memory for you. But actually, when I was trying to understand the whole Fulbright experience when I was applying, that I actually looked at a lot of blogs, and I think that's a real that would be my recommendation to people. Read other people's blogs, read people who've been to the States, because there you really hear their story and you understand their experience fully. So that's my little tip for everybody. But anyway, moving on then to, I suppose, a different story here. And this is really about the students who have an opportunity to come to Ireland, to RCSI, as part of the Fulbright RCSI PhD programme, which was established a couple of years ago. And this is perhaps something quite unique to RCSI. And, you know, this might be of interest to principal investigators who might have contacts abroad. But I'm going to let Niamh Moran do a much better job of explaining it than I will. So over to you, Niamh. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Helen. I hope I will do a much better job, but I think you're doing a really great job so far. And my first fail is that I can't get my computer to share my screen. So Rowan is going to operate my slide. So I'm going to just do the next slide, please, job. So Rowan, you can move off that first slide onto the next one. So yeah, as Helen says, my job is to talk to you about the reverse sort of travel of students from the US to Ireland. And that's my understanding of the Fulbright. It's about a cultural interchange or exchange. I think Olga's story was amazing because it shows the cultural piece, but it's maybe worth stating at this stage that the cultural piece is an important part of the application as well. Everybody who applies for Fulbright is asked to explain how they will get culturally involved. I don't know if anybody can get as involved as Olga did, but I love that story. So our journey with Fulbright started back in about 2017 and started when Oren Kennedy came back from his Fulbright experience in the US. And we, I think, realized that RCSI and Fulbright share a common and fundamental interests in the areas of the advancement of science, the dissemination of knowledge, and also the cultural piece. And so we started to talk at that point to the Fulbright Foundation and to talk about perhaps collaborating with them. And we set up a collaborative interchange. At the time, we were only starting up our STAR PhD program at the same time when we were looking to attract American students to Ireland. So as with any of these, there's always a win-win type of element to the interactions. And for us, we wanted to attract American students from good American institutes to want to come and do their PhDs with us. We wanted them to look at the research that was being done in Ireland and to see if the opportunities that we were offering were attractive to them. So we talked with Fulbright about setting this up, and we worked out how we could merge our STAR offerings with what Fulbright were offering. And we came up with what I think is a very attractive program. And actually just going through the Fulbright website in advance of this talk, I realized that I think we're probably the longest stay that the American students can come to Ireland for, because a lot of other institutes are offering educational experience, short-term experiences, such as the ones that that Helen and Sonia and Olga were describing. Some of them will offer up to 1 year for master's programs, but we're offering a 4-year opportunity, fully funded, for a student to come from the US and do a PhD with us. Next slide, Rowan, if you don't mind. So my next slide is screen grabs actually from the Fulbright website, where they talk about the opportunities they're offering for incoming students to Ireland. So that there's a number of different student awards that are available, and amongst those number of awards is the RCSI PhD Scholarship Award. Next slide, Rowan. And so in that one, if you go further on the Fulbright site, it explains everything just as Sonia has explained in terms of what the student needs to do. They need to connect with their Fulbright ambassador in the If, on the other hand, you don't have those connections, or you're looking for students who might want to come in, we're going to suggest to you that you feature your project, or you put your project up on our website. So we have a page that I don't know if everybody's aware of. I hope most people are, but it's where we invite people to put up current research projects that are available in RCSI. And this page will take your projects, whether they're funded or not, because we specifically ask you in the first line of the descriptor, we ask you to tell us, and therefore the students who might be browsing our website looking for opportunities to come and work with us, we ask you to tell us if the project is funded or not. And if it is funded, well, then it's obviously a project that is looking to attract a student immediately. If it's not funded, we then make it very clear that there are opportunities to join with us and to look for funding, either to IRC or to, for example, Fulbright. So I'd encourage you to engage with that website and to put your project up. And the next slide tells you how to get to that website. And if anybody wants these, I'll just stick them in an email to this list, to the list of attendees at this conference afterwards, to get the links. So in order to get your project up, you need to click on one of these websites in order to put your project up on, to give your project to us, so we can put it up on that website on the previous slide. We try to make sure that all the projects that we put out there are current. We work with the various PIs in RCSI to make sure the text is exactly as you want it, so that you know what you're promising, you know what you're looking for, and the students who are reading your descriptions are aware of what the opportunities are. And I guess the purpose of me being here today as part of the Fulbright Roadshow is to appeal to you all to consider, when students come looking for you, if they're American students, ask them, would they be interested in applying through the Fulbright system? We think that it's very powerful and very positive thing, in addition to them being able to say that they're Fulbrighters when they go through the process. As Sonia said, even the application process is very introspective and very important, and it's very important that the students sort of work through that. They need to get 3 letters of support from their academics in their home university before they put in their application, but they also need to engage with the RCSI potential supervisors. And so we have a system in place where with the Fulbright application, the Fulbright Commission asks specifically for a letter from the School of Postgraduate Studies in RCSI, and that's so that we know who's applying for these projects, and so that we're aware of what the standards are, and that we get then involved at the stage where we're selecting the students. The next slide, which I think is my last slide, is the one on timelines. So I know that essentially the idea of the Fulbright programs for inward coming students would be launched in March of any year. The application deadline for PhD type positions is the 12th of October 2021. all of those applications are triaged and assessed by the Fulbright Commission, exactly as Sonia said, for the outward going proposals. They take the months of October and November to triage through those and decide who is eligible, and then they pass the list over to us. Now, they won't, no project will be deemed eligible unless it has a letter of support from us already, and then we shortlist them and we interview the people that are available. We have 2 of these positions available yearly as part of our STAR PhD offering, and so we interviewed people in February this year, and I know the offers, as Sonia said, went out today. So just that's really important. And down the very bottom of this slide, I've put in the fact that it's the maximum value of the award is 170,000, and that means that Fulbright pays some of it, but we RCSI pay the student stipend, which is 18,000 euros a year. We pay or we waive the student fees, and we also provide 10,000 euros per year per project for laboratory consumables should they be needed. We also have some interaction with the Fulbright in terms of a relocation allowance and a travel home allowance for the students, so that they're able to come and go during the time. They don't just come over for 4 years, and they are able to go home when there isn't a pandemic. They're able to come and go. My next slide is just asking for questions, and I think that is the end of the session, so it probably is more apt than I thought when I first put it there. So that's the end of my presentation, and as Rowan says, if you want to put questions in the chat box, we're happy to take questions now, or you know where to find me if you need to ask questions later.
That's great, Niamh. Many thanks for giving us the detail on that. I'm sure that will be of interest to a lot of PIs, and hopefully they can spread the word about the PhD programme. So I'm going to hand back to Rowan. Yeah. I think, Rowan, you're going to take over for the Q&A session.
Yeah, sure. If anyone does have any questions, do feel free to pop them into the chat. I guess for anyone who's just thinking, oh, I'd maybe like to apply for a Fulbright, what kind of tips would you give them? I know Helen and Olga, you've both gone through the process. We're early doors yet, the applications haven't opened, but it's probably best not to leave things until the last minute. So what kind of advice would you have to someone who just kind of has it in the back of their mind now?
Well, yeah, I'm happy to go first if you like, Olga. So I guess, yeah, do your homework, I think, is the first thing. So I certainly, looked a lot on online. As I said, I looked at blogs. I really tried to understand what Fulbright was about. We actually happened to have a scholar who had come to RCSI from the States, and that probably is what triggered my interest, actually, because I kind of understood what the program was about. So I got a chance to talk with her, and I also talked with alumni in the college. We had a number of alumni in the college, and I met with them, and I chatted with them, and that really helped. So and actually, I did apply the first year, and I think in a way I probably wasn't specific enough in my research idea. I kind of probably was trying to do too much, and I didn't get shortlisted for interview. And I actually learned from that, and I reapplied the next year being more focused. So I'm not sure whether it was the research bit of it or what it was, but certainly I kind of, obviously my application was better the second year around. So I guess, if you aren't successful on year one, it's not too late to reapply. And actually, in relation to the interview, I think Sonia's slide resonated with me when she talked about the flipping of the focus, because when I got to interview, there wasn't that much discussion about the research, and it was very much around the cultural side, but also the leadership side. And I just remember one of the questions being asked in an interview was, why do you think you're a leader? And I, had to try and take a little reflective moment as to why I did think I might be a leader. And also, I guess what I really kind of understood as I was going through the process was that if you are going to the States, you are actually an ambassador. You're an ambassador for Ireland, but you're also an ambassador for your institution. And I think that's a really important part of it, that you are there, you're representing different stakeholders. So I guess you have to, remember that. And my final kind of, I guess, comment is that you know, there were lots of people I met over there, obviously in a kind of a social basis. I went to Boston, and that is just, you know, full of research and science and medical opportunities and universities. So a lot of Fulbrighters there, but also it kind of did create other opportunities. Even though I went to one institution, I managed to connect with other people. And I guess you have to kind of just grab those opportunities, and in a way you have to, you know, kind of put yourself out there and, you know, make the most of the experience. And of course I did a lot of travel and visiting. I was only there for 3 months, so I really made the most of it in terms of understanding the States and just living the States experience. You know, I'd always wanted to do that, and I never got a chance to go as a J1, and I never got a chance to work as a physio. So I thought this is my chance, and I really made the most of that. So I think that's enough for me. I'll hand over to Olga. She might have more to add. Thank you.
So from my perspective, it was slightly different, because I wanted to explore something which was definitely new to my field. And I thought that would be a great opportunity, because if it works, then I'm a winner, double winner. If it doesn't work, I still will have something more cultural from that. And of course, I've never been in the States beforehand on the conference, because it's always much cheaper to go to any European conference which has exactly the same high standards rather than travel to the United States. So, and the other thing was that for me, it was relatively balanced to see, to have the cultural exchange. And that probably helped me in the way I put my my application together. I think it is great. So what I would probably suggest now, that if you have, it's nice to have two dreams. One academic one, try something that you don't know whether it will work for you or not, or for your future career, I mean, in sense of the academia progress. And the second one, what you really want to do in the States in the free time. So, and once you find this, it doesn't matter what it is. It maybe very likely can change if you go there, because you will see something different and you will explore it. But once you put your mind set into these kind of two areas, I think then your application will naturally come together.
Well, thank you everyone for your contributions. I think you've gone into so much detail on everything. I covered so many topics. So I think we're finished with our Q&A session. So just like to say a huge thank you to Helen for helping organize this whole thing, to Olga and me for your presentations, and for Sonia for going through all the details of Fulbright there. I will be sending on a link to the video shortly after this, and I will compile everyone's presentations and send them on to you, and we hope to receive many applications from the attendees today. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone.